Cheers. All right. Cheers.
Yum, 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 yum.
Oh, that feels so, that tastes so good. I am drinking a High Noon vodka and soda, the pineapple version.
I'm cherry.
Oh, yes. And here,
It's
have a
yummy.
Sewing Mastery koozie.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to just take a little time and go through some questions, answer some non-course related questions.
I only had one drink, I swear.
This could get enjoyable. So I hope you enjoy just learning a little bit about Liz from Sew A Lot. Her store is in, where are you from?
Kentucky and Ohio.
Yes.
I'm everywhere.
You are everywhere. And I'm Sarah from the SewingMastery.com website. And we have just finished filming our first online course together called Husqvarna Viking BOOTCAMP.
5 days of fun, 4 days of fun. Well, that was just the actual filming days. That doesn't include the prep days.
Yes, so if you have one of the Husqvarna Viking Wi-Fi compatible machines, we have got and put together a whole series of lessons.
Things that people don't use.
Yes, and so your supply list, as we've been saying, there's nothing on the supply list. You already own everything. So we go back quite a ways. We've met because of being a...
Sewing machines.
Yes, and you've been in the sewing machine business since when?
I've had my store since 2004, but we've had a family store since 81 when I was 4.
When you were 4.
Yeah.
So how many years is... Oh, we kind of calculated, but we didn't.
That's a lot.
Yes.
I probably started working in the store occasionally when I was 8.
Yes. Yes.
So 30
and then
some odd years.
it's been a while. It's all we know.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, listen here, I started when I was 15 and a half working for a sewing machine store in Santa Barbara, California.
You just went and started working.
I did. And I enjoyed working retail because I had a wonderful store owner, Grant House. He is still a FOF dealer.
He's still a dealer.
And it's so neat to kind of see him at conventions and things. So thank you, Grant, for all the things that you've done and that we can continue to.
My first real job was at a toy store.
A toy
It's
store.
always retail.
You have always been in retail.
Or customer service.
And teaching, yes. Yeah, that's kind of what we do. So we printed off a few cards and questions that are semi-sewing related, but not. But again, so you can kind of get to know us. And we'll just kind of see what random answers we come up with. Do you want to start?
Yes. Yeah, when did we meet?
When did we meet?
Oh, I met Steve first.
So Steve's my husband. And yes, we...
And the first time I met you, you said, so this is the Liz that I keep hearing about.
Yes, and
I thought, oh God, what did I do?
No, but I know between all of you guys talking, you guys solve a lot of industry issues on your own for each of our retail stores, and you kind of have a group.
We have a little posse.
Yeah.
So we're spread about the country.
That's funny.
Our little sewing posse. But it's nice because then when we need help,
you have somebody to call.
We have other resources.
Yes.
We're not just out there on an island alone.
And each of our areas, of course, you being Kentucky, Ohio, Brian's in Michigan. You've got...
Then we've got another 2, one's from New York and one's from Arizona.
Yes. So I know
we're all over.
Our stores do talk to each other, and then I just kind of keep doing the videos on the side. Whatever you guys need filmed, apparently that's what I keep coming in. So this was kind of a collaboration of people going, we can't get people to understand the mySewNet, the library.
The mySewNet was a big thing.
Yes, so that's part of why we did this course, is so you can really kind of have the resources, and then we're going to be available.
For us, the mySewNet was a little confusing.
That was an entire day of filming.
Because there's a lot of parts to mySewNet.
Yes, and some is software that you pay for, but what we talked about is all the free stuff. So like I said, you already have all the parts or tools, and so we're going to give you lots of ideas of how to use them.
Yes.
Good. All right, so do you want to start? What does your card say?
Do you pre-wash your fabric?
Do I pre-wash my fabric? Usually not.
I don't, unless it's for a garment.
Garment, yeah, specialty fabrics or something that really...
Right. Now that being said, if you buy fabric at like Joann's...
I don't.
Or I don't either.
Okay.
But there may be someone out there that does.
Sure.
Joann's are like, how you're gonna... or just don't buy fabric.
You got to buy the quality
You
fabric.
got to buy the good stuff. So
You've
the
already
good
spent the
face
money on the machine,
cream. Right.
and
Don't put the bad gas in it.
That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put
You're
it.
gonna buy a high-end thing. Don't
Yes.
put the bad things in it.
So, like the fabrics that are in my Stitching Cosmos quilt that is right behind us here, I know I did not.
Are they Konas?
Yes, of course. And so, but I also know that I'm not going to like wash that. So
Right.
depend on how. I mean, it is a showpiece.
Well,
It's going to be on the wall.
Yeah, like some people will bring fabric that it's just the grain is not so tight, so then it doesn't. It's just harder to work with. And
if
why
you-
make it harder?
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
Yeah, if you're gonna put all this time and effort into something, end up with something nice, quality, long-lasting at the end.
Perfect. All right, here's a question for you. What is one sewing myth that drives you crazy?
When I tell people that I sell sewing machines, that they're surprised that people still sew.
Oh, sure. Like you do that? Or
Yes.
yes.
The guy on the airplane said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm going to film some sewing tutorial videos." He goes, "Well, you don't hear that every day." Or like people come in, they go, "What do you do?" And you're like, "Oh, I sell sewing machines." And they're like, "So
Oh.
people buy sewing machines?" Yes.
Yes.
There's like, they just don't know that it exists.
So we totally understand when your hobbies are very hard to explain, and especially when people ask you, well, how much did your sewing machine cost? And
Right.
you really don't want to tell them.
Because you know right away, if they don't know that people sew, then they're really going to die when they find out how much you've spent on your hobby. But if you look at any other hobby,
Yeah.
people are spending to buy the good stuff. You want to do it, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
All right. So
What's
the myth.
Wait, I was going to say, what's
yeah.
yours? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that drives me crazy is when people tell me that I should not cut paper with my sewing scissors. Just
I got mine with mine.
Okay, so you're like me. Okay, so here's the deal. When you tell me that you don't cut paper with your sewing scissors,
Now that-
it's not for, okay, so if you're cutting fleece or you're cutting minky with your sewing scissors or your rotary cutter, you know how quickly they dull. So minky or polyester is worse than
Than
paper.
paper, yeah.
So I remember my mom handing me her sewing scissors, and she did alterations.
Oh,
so
I got in trouble. I was never supposed to cut with my mom.
Oh, my mom didn't give me. I was never in trouble with my mom.
I was.
And so with that, she's like, "You can cut paper with my scissors. It's not the paper that people have issues with. It's what the kids cut that's not paper. So that's like the dog hair, the carpet, the wire. You know what I'm talking
The
about.
wire's bad. The wire will
Yeah.
make you up every time.
So paper is not wire. So
Right. Well, then on the flip side, though, do you all sharpen scissors?
we sort of. We used to. Yeah,
we,
used to.
we still do.
Perfect.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you find somebody close to you that sharpens scissors too,
Just have them sharpened.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you need to have them sharpened anyway every once in a while.
But it is not the paper that is
No.
dulling your scissors.
There
So
are
that
other
is
things
a
that are worse
myth.
than paper.
All right, sounds good. What do you got?
Have you ever sewed your finger? Yes.
No. I don't
on,
want.
a, on a long arm machine.
Oh,
And it went in and it came out before I even knew what happened.
it was. Oh,
It was more like in the side.
Ah.
But it went in, came out, and I went, oh.
Yeah, no, I have not, and I'm so worried because I do so many filming that I'll be talking along, and it's going to be on camera when I sew
Well,
my
and
finger.
it didn't happen for decades.
Sure.
It wasn't.
And you only did it once.
And it wasn't like I was a new sewer and didn't know what I was doing. It was same thing with the rotary cutter. Have you ever cut your finger with a rotary cutter?
No, but
I have.
Because my mother-in-law, who started the store at Heirloom Creations, always fined us if we ever left a rotary cutter blade. Oh, well.
I didn't cut it because I left the blade open. Remember, it was right before we went on our trip.
Oh my gosh,
The
that's
day before.
That's right,
And
you
I
were
was
all-
in a hurry. My husband was out of town. He was flying home from someplace, and I was flying, and we were crossing each other, and my dad was having to come to sleep with the kids for 12 hours while we transitioned, and I was trying to hurry because it was time to pick somebody up at school. And I did one of these deals where, I set up incorrectly, trying to get it done quickly. And somebody asked me a question mid,
Oh, no.
and I turned and ran right into the side of my finger. I got 3 stitches.
That's right, because you were all waterproof
Right?
Band-Aids.
Yeah, remember we were in the pool and I was like swimming like this?
Yes, I do remember that. Oh, we felt so bad. And then you're like, okay, how do I take these stitches out? Because we were still there.
And then I almost passed out.
Oh.
While I tried to take the stitches
I was
out.
not there for the passing out.
Yeah, I almost passed out on the balcony.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is like if you're going to be shipwrecked or quarantined, one of the two.
Same difference. Well, I don't know.
Shipwrecked.
It may be better to be shipwrecked.
I'm going to go with shipwrecked on a desert island.
I know,
Think
that's what I mean.
trees
Right.
and nice weather.
Hammock.
Oh, yes. So you're on an island with your sewing machine and plenty of food and water, so that's not like an issue.
Do you have fabric and thread?
The basics. Okay. Which two sewing accessories would you not want to live without?
I use my 1/4 inch foot a lot.
So you couldn't sew a 1/4 inch without a 1/4 inch foot if you had to.
You can. So
You're
that's
not-
what I'm thinking. You
Yeah.
could, but I need a measurement, or I could eyeball it and move my needle
No.
position.
No.
But I'm too
You're-
lazy for that. I
Yeah.
need my 1/4 inch foot.
Okay, and then my foot is the edge joining foot with the guide in the middle. So, because
I saw you using that.
I can move a needle position like nobody's business. I can totally line it up, and then it looks perfect every time.
Yeah.
And then I have one other accessory. I'm really a fan of.
What's at my table Wonder clips.
Oh yeah.
I use Wonder clips a lot.
Do you pin at all?
No, I use Wonder clips.
You're a Wonder clip girl.
I don't like that when you pin and they and the Wonder clips are just so easy, and then they got the mini Wonder clips with the little points.
And they're so cute and pretty and colorful.
And they are more like pins.
Got it. And then I have lately been a fan of the 240 by 150 embroidery hoop.
That's a good one.
Because if you didn't know this, when you put a bigger hoop on, your machine actually goes slower.
Yeah.
And that's the hoop size that keeps you at the max speed so you can get things done. And so for those of you who are Kimberbell fans, you probably realize that, but maybe not realize that. But that is definitely a hoop that I am if I can make it if it's just a little bigger, I'll reduce it down so it fits in that hoop because time is limited for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good hoop.
Good.
What do you like most about sewing?
You answer that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that you can do it whenever, doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't matter if you learn to do it and then life happens and you don't get to do it for a while. It's not like something like a physical sport that you need to recondition for.
Yes.
You can always sew. You can sew when you're 5 and you can sew when you're 95. It doesn't matter.
And it has become, for us, not only our hobby, but it has turned into our professions.
Yes.
And so for me, that's why I hesitate, is because it is my profession. So sometimes when I have free time, I don't sew.
Oh, no, I don't either.
No. But you know what I do is when we do classes, like our online class, we are only going to pick classes to do that are actually fun.
Right. That's how I pick every class I teach.
Me too.
I go, I need to make Ruby this. I can make this be a class.
Yes, and then it becomes, a class,
class.
and then we get our samples done. Well, they get halfway done.
Yeah.
It's the getting the samples done after the halfway point.
I have a lot of 3 and 4 halfway stepped points.
So tell them who Ruby is.
Oh, my 9-year-old.
And then you have?
Ella, who is 7.
7 right now.
Yes.
And then I have a daughter, Kate, who is 12.
So
Yes.
it's the floating stitch quilt.
Oh, yes, that we do.
One was for Ruby.
Yes.
And the other one is for Ella because I was like, then they'll get new bed quilts.
Done.
This will work.
Done and done. All right, sounds good. Where is the craziest place you've ever sewn? So your sewing machine is set up at
it's not that crazy of a place, but I needed to hem curtains once that were already hung.
Oh.
And I didn't want to take them down.
I know where this is going.
So I pulled the table next to the window and then just...
Oh, you did the curtains pre-hung.
Attached.
So as it's coming out, they're like perfectly hemmed.
Yeah, you just, hemmed them up there, pinned them up there. So you could, that's perfect. And
Totally
then,
possible.
And then that was it.
Yes.
And they were done.
I remember going camping with my mom, and we had electricity at the camp spot, and we just put them on the picnic table. And it's a good memory for me because it was perfect weather. It was just the two of us, as it was when I was growing up. and we had packed a little sewing project, and the picnic table was like this, and I think there was a little dirt on the foot control, but I think we threw a towel on the ground.
That's fine.
And it was like so heavenly to sew outside. If you ever have a chance to sew outside, that's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I've seen people do that a lot.
Oh, that was done.
Oh, I'm going to make you answer this one.
Okay.
What was the weirdest sewing project you ever tackled?
Oh my gosh. So the weirdest one, I had to do a buttonhole. Now, it wasn't a buttonhole for a button, and I never say yes to a project that somebody asked me to do. Never.
I try really hard not to.
Oh gosh. But for some reason, I said yes to this because it looked intriguing. So the neighbor had one of those little, is it GM cars? They're really small. And he worked on them. So he had a thing that you lay, it was a really nice car. So you lay something over it, like a sheepskin cover. So when you lean in, you don't scratch the paint. Well, the car is so small that the piece he had, that to work on the car, was like overlapping his side mirror. So the side mirror is like that cute little round mirror. So I measured the mirror in its circumference and then made a buttonhole this big on the item, because then he could lay it over and you just go over the mirror and then it was perfectly flat. And I made a buttonhole that, it was just measured, because you can go manual buttonhole. That was
make buttonholes forever.
Yes, yes you can. And of course it was plush, so I had to use water soluble. And so I went all the way back, and then I turned around and came all the way, and then I cut it open. And that was the hardest part, was to cut it open. And it fit perfectly, not too tight, not too loose, because you measure around it and then lay that string flat, and that's your opening. That's the weirdest thing I've ever sewn.
I don't sew a lot of weird things, but I do find myself sewing a lot of, I hate to mend, but I do end up doing weird mending things.
Mending is weird.
Yes, mending is weird. No, but I made Ruby, she had a preschool thing, and she was going to be a chicken, and I'm not so much of a costumer. Like, my mom was she could make sewing costumes.
Yes.
That were amazing. Like, everyone was totally, pimped out, amazing Halloween costumes. So I made this, and I got this, boa.
Oh, yeah.
And I sewed the boa all the way around so that it was a whole body. Yes. And it was
get a fluffy
feathers
chicken?
Everywhere. Yeah, and then I embroidered a beak for her.
Aww.
Who was it? Maybe Anita Good had those masks.
Yes. And then you did a chicken
mask.
mask.
The chicken mask.
So did you have Halloween costumes when you were young, made by your mom?
Oh, yes.
What was the coolest one she ever made for you?
She made me a pink Care Bear with the rainbow belly.
The Care Bears.
And that's how I made Ruby's. Because what she did for that was she made a pillow belly insert.
I can see this now.
And it was all pink.
And of course, it's only this big, because how old was she?
When I did Ruby's. It was only this big, and it weighed a ton though.
Did she fall over forward?
Put your arms straight up, and I was like, whoop.
Did she fell?
And she was like, she's like, perfect.
Oh my goodness.
She, of all the kids at preschool, had the
best,
fanciest.
Did she win?
There wasn't it was a mute, they sang songs or something, and she would everybody else had a T-shirt with a chicken on it, and here's Ruby in this big old feathered out.
Did she love it though? Does she remember it?
Well, she got because then now it's been years and years and years, and nobody can wear it.
Oh, you still have it?
No, well, not anymore, because I put it in the donation box. I'm like, we can't keep this thing. What are we gonna do with it? And she did get a little upset with me
because she didn't fit in.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
We're just
did you take sewing in high school?
No.
Did you have sewing in high school?
We had home ec, but I did not. Our school was very small. I only graduated with 72 people.
Oh.
So if you were in the band, you were not allowed to take. You didn't get any other options.
No.
That was the option.
So the reason I put this question in is because my mom wrote the note that said I should be excused from sewing class because I was already working at the sewing machine store and selling sewing machines and teaching sewing classes. So she didn't think it was a good idea that I showed up at sewing class at the high school.
So what did the teacher say?
It was just more of a like, yeah, she doesn't need to take that. It was just, and then we were in a big high school, so we did have sewing, but it was definitely like she could pass this.
She could teach this.
Yes.
So you really want that to
You
happen.
don't want her in your class. But I do remember, because I worked at the sewing machine store, that we went to the high school in the summertime and we
did the
serviced all the sewing
Yeah.
machines. And I'm like, oh, these are the machines we would have
I
used.
used to do that when I was a kid.
Oh, did you really? And it was so fun. We would just line them all up.
Yep.
And then I would undo all the sewing machines, like take off all the screws.
When I was
And then
little.
the store owner, he would follow me, Grant would follow me, and he would service them. And then I would put them all back together.
My mom would.
And
And then my sister, we'd get them all, and then my mom would start doing it, and then my sister and I would go run around the school, because we go to all these, like, they were always like country schools, like we'd be running to the gym, and these teachers are all like, where are you two from? Like, where did you come from? Yeah, no, we used to, Anna, Ohio. I used to go to Anna, Ohio a lot.
That's funny.
Yeah. Go-to stabilizer.
Oh, what's your go-to stabilizer?
Fusible no-show mesh.
Got it.
I like a fusible no-show mesh. I use it on pretty much everything.
Good. I mean, cutaway.
Yeah,
You got to have
which
a
is the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to do that. Of course, now the fusible interfacing that you put on the back of all the cotton
and that's why I like
fabrics.
the no-show mesh, because it's a little
You
more
can get
pliable.
and you can get it fusible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a little more
Or did you just say?
pliable. Yeah,
Did you say
I
fusible?
I did.
Cheers.
Yes, fusible no-show mesh. It's sort of like your woven fusible. But I like woven fusible too.
Yes.
And it's not as stiff as your cutaway.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, cutaway's kind of like if you can't.
It's
if
like
you're
a
gonna,
stiff paper.
Yes. If you can't. Yeah. I like a cutaway. But if your cotton fabric is puckering, you gotta interface it.
It's just easy just to pop some fusible on the back and go on.
Done. I mean, you still need to add interfacing, so that's your layer one. I always say use 2 layers, so there's one, then you add.
You can never have too much stabilizer.
We do talk about that in class.
A lot.
Yes.
I say that to everyone.
And they skimp.
Maybe I'll make that on a shirt.
You can never have too much stabilizer. And then hop on the airplane and see what the guy says.
Yeah.
You sit down. What? I'm going to South Dakota to film an online class.
Well, you don't hear that every day.
What is your first memory of learning to sew?
Well, I have a couple. My mom was one of those that she learned to sew making Barbie clothes.
Oh.
That's how she learned to sew, which...
Sure. Oh, little. That's hard.
Yeah, Barbie clothes.
Yes.
That's rough.
Not like the Cabbage Patch Girls.
No, Barbie clothes. But she, when we were little, she would make us, like, just leggings.
Oh, yeah.
And so she would always make us cut out the pattern. She'd make us trace and cut out our patterns when we were little kids. Because, little kids can use scissors and follow a line. So she would make us trace and cut our own clothes patterns. And I remember one morning, I was, 9, 10, and I don't have anything to wear. I don't have any clean pants. You have a 12-year-old. I'm sure that you've heard that before. I don't have anything clean to wear. I don't have anything. And she went downstairs and took a pair of knit leggings that had already been cut out.
Yeah.
And in like 10 minutes, stitched them together and brought them up and chucked them at me and was like, here, put these on. And like it was a big thing at school that day because I was like, my mom made these pants this morning.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, they were just knit leggings.
Yeah.
Now that I know how to make them, it's not as impressive as it was when I was 10.
Was there a serger in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
So, just room.
Done.
Folding him. But the first time I ever learned to sew, she couldn't teach me to sew. She was running a sewing store. She didn't have, plus we were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the lady that worked for her and still works for her, has worked for her for 44 years.
Oh, my goodness.
Miss Carol taught me how to quilt. And she taught me how to make, and her first quilt she always teaches everybody is a log cabin.
Oh, geez, that is not the easy first project.
If you take a class in Ohio, that's the class that she teaches for beginning quilters, how to make Eleanor Burns.
Well, that would be
Quilt in a Day log cabin.
Oh my gosh, I did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Memories.
I love a log cabin.
Yeah, but that's not the easiest
It's not that
first
bad
time.
once you get going.
Well, that's how you're gonna learn.
And I still have it. So I made it when I was 16.
Wow.
It was my first I'd made other little things, but that was my first thing that I'd made it, and it's still in my living room.
Perfect. I do have some early memories of my mom letting me sew. The one thing that when I was like 3-ish, we lived on a boat. And so
that wasn't the weirdest place you ever sewed?
Oh, no, because that was normal. That was my home. But as she would let me stitch, but it was Dad converted it to a hand crank because we didn't have all the electricity all the time. Right. So I do remember her always teaching me you could always turn the hand wheel towards you, and then I would do a zigzag. Because we had a zigzag machine, and I would do zigzag, and then I would take it out, but not just take it out like rip it. I would take it out with the seam ripper. You know how you can lift the thread out, and I would have one long piece when I was done. That was the first time I remember sewing. But it also, she taught me, which we have to always teach our students with mechanical machines, is that take-up lever always has to be at the top
Rabbit
position.
has to be sticking his head out of the hole.
He has to be looking at you.
And
you so you always turn the, no we didn't.
Oh, we did. The rabbit has to be peeking out of the hole.
He does have to be eye level.
He sort of looks like his ears are tucked back.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you're right, it does. I'm like, but the thing I learned was you always turn the hand wheel towards you, and when you're on a crank, the most common way is to turn away from you. And so with that, I had good sewing habits, sewing machine habits from the get-go. Yeah. So that was my first memory of sewing. Yes. All right, so that was mine.
Sewing superpower, what could it be?
Oh my goodness.
I have one. I'm an excellent seam ripper.
Speaking of seam ripper.
Speaking of seam rippers. Like, I walk around when the teachers are teaching class, and they're like, I'll have a student that was like, and I'm like, give it to me. You keep going. It's like knitting for me. Like, I can sit in a corner and just seam rip people's stuff out.
It's relaxed. It's so much easier to take somebody else's work out than your own.
Well, remember we were on a Zoom during COVID?
Oh,
for family game night one night, and I was ripping out log cabin blocks.
That's right, because what had happened?
Because I sewed these log cabin blocks. This is a 4-year project that I am now working on.
Is it done yet?
No. It's a log cabin that I had saved, and I don't hoard a lot of fabric. I mean, I have a whole store full of fabric, so why do I need to hoard it at home? But basic gray Christmas from Moda. I hoard basic gray Christmas from Moda, and I had hoarded for years and years and years, all this fabric, and then I cut it all up into 1-inch strips and did an AccuQuilt little. I cut it up and did an AccuQuilt log. So they're 1.5 inch, one finished. Okay. So
that's still small.
So I did an AccuQuilt log cabin quilt for a king size bed.
That's gonna be heavy.
It is going to be heavy, but it's for the winter, so it's fine. But I got all the blocks put together, and I had started them with real scrappy thing going on. And then because it was something I was working on, decided to teach it as a class.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I had leftover, there were black and white strips, like black strips with little Christmas pictures and white strips with little Christmas pictures. And I took them to the store, and I did a half black, half white with a red in the center. And they turned out so pretty that I was like, oh no. Now I have to rip out all of these blocks and do this over again because I'd used all my fabric. So it wasn't like I could just. So for the last 2 years, and we were on a Zoom one night during COVID, and we were all on the Zoom, and I just was methodically ripping out my blocks.
What are you doing?
Just ripping out my blocks, restacking my strips,
pressing them.
No, it's too lazy. So what I do is I do the other side that hadn't been flipped under yet. And then when I went to open them, and then I was like, they're not gonna press.
Now you're pressed. Yeah. Okay,
it'll get done someday.
Speaking of superpowers, I guess the only thing I could come up with is, so you know when you start a project, and you go, I can get this done this afternoon, or I could probably do this in a day or 2 days. I would like my superpower to be that the project actually is completed in the time I think it should be completed by.
I thought that log cabin quilt was going to be done by now. It's been a hobby.
Well, if you move to South Dakota, you'll get it done because you'll need it up here come winter time.
That's just a problem. I don't really need it.
We've told her she should just move here so we could just have fun and do online courses all the time.
I can do the winter. I can visit. It would be pretty.
It keeps the riffraff out up here.
It would be pretty, but I can. I don't know.
All right. What is your most favorite movie that has a sewing machine in it?
I don't know. I just watched a movie the other day. That
Do you like try to figure out what brand it
I
is?
was just gonna say, I just watched a movie the other day and it had a sewing machine in it, and I sort of lost some of the dialogue because I was trying to figure out what kind it was.
So I know with movies, if you've ever watched a movie with a sewing machine in it, they have to tape over the brand.
Right.
Usually the brand name is on the back side. You probably don't realize that, but it is. And so when there's movies...
Or they use the old singers that don't have it on the backside.
I always hate, why are you using an old machine? But yeah, they have to tape over
they
the
found
brand.
them at a flea market for
God.
$10 that they use as a prop.
Ugh, no. And so, so my favorite movie, of course, is Cinderella.
That's a good one.
Yes. I mean, I know it's a cartoon.
The Grinch.
Does he so?
Yes, when he makes his costume.
I did not realize that.
And then the dog's tail gets stuck up and goes through the take-off lever.
Apparently, I need to go watch the Grinch movie.
His tail and it's like a treadle.
Is this the new one or the old one?
All of them. He does, it's a treadle. He does it and he's doing the pedal. And then you're seeing the fabric go through the machine, and then all of a sudden you see the dog's tail come through the needle, and the dog's sitting on top of the take-up lever going.
Oh, that's fun. No, I had not realized
I'll have
that.
to Google that when we get done.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Do you sew with your shoes off or on? I'm an off. I don't like to sew with my shoes on. I can sew with my shoes on, except for when I use the multifunction foot control.
Oh,
because
sure.
I accidentally because I can't feel my heel. Because
Okay.
I always set the, okay, so the multifunction foot control has wings on the side.
Right.
And a button in the back, so that you can set the sides and the button in the back for different things.
Yeah.
And in my head, the back should always be the cutter. But then what happens when I rest my foot on there, sometimes I push with the back of my foot and I don't really realize it, and then I hit the cutter. But if I'm barefoot, then I can feel all the stuff better.
Oh, yes. So I would say that most of the time I sew with my shoes on, but I have found that this summer I have not wanted to put shoes on at all, and I'm like barefooting everything. And so, but come wintertime, I have a feeling, I think it's seasonal for me.
This is terrible. I had a customer say something the other day about me walking around barefoot in the store.
Oh no, you're not supposed to, well, maybe you can.
I can if I want to.
If you own the store, apparently you can do that.
But she said something about, I haven't seen you barefoot in a while. I'm like, oh man.
Sorry, I should go find my shoes.
My bad.
I do always tell my students in the class, usually about, not halfway through, but halfway before the first break, I'm like, if you're not used to sewing with shoes on, just go ahead and take your shoes off.
Yeah,
We're used to.
We have a lot of people in class that'll just.
But you have to tell them to take their shoes off.
I do not.
Oh.
I think because I walk around barefoot, they just go.
Well, it is a little warmer down your way.
Well, yeah, it's not so.
So in the winter time,
maybe you should give them all Heirloom Creation fluffy fuzzy socks.
oh my gosh, that was a great idea.
And hand them out when they come in for
Well,
calls.
because in the wintertime, a lot of people, especially if you're dressing up a little nicely, you might wear jeans, but then they wear boots to class. And then
Those
watching
are hard to
people,
sew on.
those are hard to sew on. And so I do get people to take their, and not boots like the outdoor winter.
leather,
Yeah, the cute,
dress boots.
like the cute boots.
Yeah.
With a little heel.
Yeah, no, those would be hard to sew.
Yeah, that would be hard, especially when you're trying to teach them the multi-function
Definitely gonna
foot
have to get
control.
some fuzzy socks.
I think that's a great idea.
With little grippies on the bottom.
Oh my gosh. Kind of like the first class airline tickets where they give you your
I don't know that
shoots.
they've given me anything.
You have to
first
fly
class.
international.
Oh,
And then they give you the booties.
I can't remember the last time I flew international.
All right. So since we both grew up in the sewing industry, yes, what one job would you love to do outside the sewing industry?
Oh, travel. Anything travel. I worked at hotels before.
You have.
Oh yeah, I loved it. That was in between my sewing machine ventures.
So still working with people. You're a people
customer
person.
service, yes.
Yes. Well, and that's kind of where I'm at. One thing I've always wanted to do, I know this probably sounds so weird, but I would love to be a
No, I can't
waitress.
wait.
Yes, because I have had the opportunity, and I'm very grateful to have eaten in a lot of restaurants because I've traveled and worked for different sewing machine companies, and I'm always out. So I know what should be asked at the right time. Like, don't ask me if I like my food before I've taken a bite. I know, there's like appropriate times where you're supposed to ask certain questions and then check in and then I know.
So
it's
not
probably.
at a Denny's. You don't want to like go work at a Denny's.
I don't know.
It's
I've
just
never.
like a wait.
I don't know.
When I worked in the hotels, I
had
was
to-
never good at the waitress part, but I am a mean bartender and a busser. I can
Oh.
bus a table.
Yeah, I think I'd have fun doing that.
You learn a lot being in
Like
the
what?
food service.
Maybe I should. Maybe I don't want to
just,
know. Maybe
you
I think
know,
it's just all glamour because I
no.
never go back behind the kitchen
Well,
area.
no, just like the whole there's amazing how some people just are a little more messier.
Oh,
That you have to like clean up after. Like working in a hotel, cleaning people's rooms.
Same thing. Yeah.
Working in the restaurant, cleaning up after, like, those free, like, it was an Embassy Suite, so it was the free breakfast on
And then the free
Saturday
cocktail aisle.
morning. Cocktail wasn't so bad, but like a Saturday morning, kids were there,
Everything needed.
free breakfast.
Yes.
Ooh,
Got it.
it could get a little hairy.
Maybe I'll go for the-
And I didn't, like, I was a manager, but I wasn't even a manager in the restaurant. I was a manager at the front desk, but I
you
would
had to
go
go.
and help because it would get a little hairy.
Crazy.
So
So maybe I'm thinking more like not desert island, like resort.
Oh, fine dining. Or
Fine
resort.
Yeah. So everything's a little low key, but I can help out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and enjoy. Because even though I'm not being the guest, I could
Right.
definitely help the guests enjoy their
Again,
experience.
customer service.
Yeah, it is fun.
There are actually crazy people like us that enjoy customer service.
I guess apparently it's in our blood.
Yeah.
Sewing's in our blood. Teaching, coming up with new ideas for you.
Well, and
Yes.
this is good. Like, this is customer service. Like, I get excited when I show someone some little tip that's not really a crazy earth-shattering thing, but they realize that it's going to really help make whatever they're doing easier.
And we take so much for granted. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things when I do get to teach classes is when you see the light bulb moment.
Yes.
And above their head, it glows, the
Yes.
light bulb.
Yes.
And then you're like, you go home and you
you're
feel
like,
so good.
I didn't really do anything crazy, but I made that lady really happy, and she learned
Yes.
something new. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that is.
yeah.
That is so fun. Yes.
So,
Well,
yeah.
good. This has
So,
been
yeah.
great.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It was
So
fun.
if you are watching this video and you made it to the end, we do have our Husqvarna Viking bootcamp class that we have filmed, and we are so excited to. We were already making a list of maybe some
New
future
ideas.
classes that
Yeah.
we'd love to come together and collaborate on.
Maybe I'll come back in the winter next time just to see what it's like.
Well, since we don't let her outside during the filming,
I just look out the window.
well, yeah, except we have it
Not
all
these windows, those
blacked
windows.
out right now, so you can't even. You don't even know what time it is right now. Well,
Yes, I did.
apparently it's 5 o'clock somewhere
Almost in Kentucky.
in Kentucky. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can find us on the Facebook groups. You can
Yes.
find you at the Sew a Lot.
At the Sew a Lot.
At the Sew a Lot.
Sew a lot. Sew a lot. Creative Sewing Center.
Yes, in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then I know your other
I
stories.
visit
I know.
Ohio periodically.
Perfect.
Yes.
And of course, you can find me online mostly these days on the sewingmastery.com website. You can always email me. But we can't wait to help you really get into your machine and do more with it. And I have a feeling
what
you
you've got.
will see us again
Yes.
with even more ideas, because as soon as we're done here, we're already making a list for what we can help you out with next.
Yes. So if you have any ideas, make sure you let us know.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, we will be accessible for you to reach
Especially,
out.
anything Husqvarna Viking or FOF.
Yes, so we are FOF as well.
yeah.
Perfect. So we can't wait to find out where our futures take us. And
You never know.
And of course, these videos worldwide.
Who knows?
You are now an international teacher. Yes.
All
All
right.
right.
Put that on a resume.
Nobody's gonna care.
We'll find you a waitress job too, so you can put that on your resume.
I'm sure they don't care either. All right. So cheers. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye, guys.
Cheers. Is it working?
Yes.
It is working.
Yeah, mine's all gone.
Oh, I need 2 more sips.
Whew.
Okay, so 3. So
I was gonna
the
say, there might
tequila
be one more in
before.
there. That helped.
The-
That was a good start.
Yeah. So between vodka and tequila, that's my go-to. What's your go-to?
Oh, not tequila.
I know.
Vodka.
Vodka. Well, not the cheap tequila.
No, I don't think I've ever gotten past the cheap tequila.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, you got to up your game.
I think it just.
Yes, it's a whole new level.
Ugh.
It's got like in Kentucky, you've got the bourbon.
Well, see, and I can't even do bourbon
Well,
like I used to do.
Oh, but
like I
but
used to
there's
drink it
different-
like Steve.
Oh well, but there's different levels. There's like the quality level, and then there's the really nice, and then that's when you can enjoy it.
Yes, the big thing I've learned is that I just need to stick with whatever I start with.
As we say at our house, staying in your lane.
Yes.
Because when we're at the lake, when the people
swerving all over the place.
when you have the tequila, then the bourbon, and then you have beer or something.
Mimosas.
Oh yeah. You're gonna have a rough day. But as we say, we always say, did you stay in your lane? And you either say yes or you say no.
Right.
And you either have a great day or you might not
Have
have
a
a great
ending.
or a rough morning.
Yes.
Yes. So no, you got to stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
You got to know your lane. Hopefully by our age, we should know our lane.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, why do you think Steve and I roam around and talk about indigestion so much?
That could be a.
Brian doesn't get indigestion, so he has a hard time understanding. Well, he does. He just
Yes.
refuses to admit it. But Steve and I are like, no,
No.
our bellies will hurt. We can't do that.
No. If you stay in your lane, you're gonna have a good time.
Yes.
And then if you can find that, like what we call California sober,
Yeah.
where it's like 0.05,
Yeah.
it's not over the top. Because
Just
then you don't have
maintain.
and that's the key. You have to maintain.
Don't
so
fall
once you start to kind of like, ooh,
Yeah.
then you gotta like take one more,
Yeah.
but not like down it. 'Cause
No.
you gotta
Pace
find
yourself.
it. Pace yourself. And if you pace yourself throughout the day, it's like going to the lake and like floating.
Yes.
Floating in the lake.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of when you start
Yes.
and when you end.
Yes.
Yes. What's your go-to at the lake?
Nothing, because I'm usually with my parents.
Oh, or your kids.
Yes, and my kids.
And you're responsible.
Yes.
Oh, you'll get there when you don't have to
know.
be
They're
totally
getting bigger.
Yeah, they are.
They are getting bigger.
Yes.
It's getting easier.
I love middle school.
Oh, it's going to be a hot minute. We're just in
I don't-
first grade.
Oh, you got a few years to
We've
go.
still got a 4-year stretch before.
Yeah.
It'll
No,
be
we
great.
love our kids.
Oh,
We
yes.
do. Yes. And
Oh, yes. They're amazing
they're not-
little monsters.
do you know if they'll follow in your footsteps? It's hard to tell when they're that young.
Ruby will do something.
Good. Amazing.
Well, she loves people.
So she could definitely come in.
Like, I used to take her to the store, and I could chuck her in a pack and play, and she could have cared less. Like, she would have played with toys and just stayed in the pack and play, and people come over and talk to her, and she's happy as a clam. I took Ella to the store and put her in a pack and play, and if I got out of eye shot, she was losing her gourd. And if somebody came over to that pack and play and looked at her, she was screaming. Like, she had to be she did not want to be, no strangers, don't engage with me.
Where's my mom?
I don't like you, I don't know you, don't look at me.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
My daughter has way more expectations at 12 than I did.
I
Like,
think they all do now.
They do.
It's a little different.
but there's a lot more that they can access.
Right.
That they realize. Mine currently, I mean, there's a couple things. She does want to own her own private airplane company.
Good, she can fly us places.
No, she'll have people fly us places.
Whatever.
She's like, yeah, I'll own the airplanes. I'm like, whoa, hello. Yeah, so she's already gone beyond the whole, like, I want to be a pilot or something silly like that. And she's like, no, I want to own the company that owns the pilots, that owns the planes. I mean,
that's
she's
good.
already like, whoa,
Yeah.
bigger. I mean, gosh, if that's where she's thinking now, I have a feeling it could go out of control. So, but she loves to paint. Like
Yes.
she's an artist. But sewing is, I mean, she enjoys sewing machines, but
Now, see, Ruby likes to sew.
yeah. And
Ella does not.
And Kate
Ruby
did
does.
at
Yeah.
that younger age, but we've gone beyond.
But she doesn't like to learn how to sew. She likes to free for all it. She just likes to, can I have these scraps?
Yes.
Can I have this? And then she's just,
Yes. Now that's something else with kids. Like if you've got kids that want to sew, I always tell my students to don't give them the crappy machine that you
Oh,
won't
yeah,
sew on anymore.
yeah.
I mean, give them the nice machine because that's what they were
Well, she's
born
used
with.
to sewing on my Icon, so.
Oh yeah, that's where Kate was too. I mean, they've got the start-stop button, so you don't have to use the foot
Yes.
control. They've got the scissor button, so they can just cut the thread.
She knows how to thread it.
Yeah, I mean, they have such a good experience. I mean, they think it's an iPad that's on the screen, and that's what they're used to.
Yeah, no, she's,
I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, so I always say, give the students or give your grandkids, the kiddos,
Well-
the nicer machine so they have a good experience, and then they will sew probably at least a little bit
Well,
in
and
the future.
that when people come in and ask me, I'm always like, whatever you think you want to get them, get them at least one model above that.
Yeah. It's
Because you
gotta-
want them something to grow into. You
You got to give them the buttons.
Right.
Give them the buttons and some decorative
You
stitches.
don't want
They're
them
going
to
to
just
love it.
fizzle out, like learn a couple
No.
weeks and then be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gotten the bigger one.
Yeah, because you're going to have to come back and get the bigger one.
Might as well just get it
Yeah.
to start with.
Yeah.
You want something to grow into, not
Yes.
something to.
Yeah. And I always, that is a big, that's one of those
And it's
pet
a hard
peeves.
thing. Well, and it's a hard thing though for people when they're buying them for kids because they just don't know how long
Right.
are they gonna use
Yeah.
it.
So just let them use your good machine.
Yeah.
And
Buy yourself a second machine.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So that they have something to use, but
And
then
then-
when they decide they don't want to do it anymore, you've got two good machines.
That's a good idea
Yeah.
too. Perfect.
Get you your regular embroidery machine, and then get you a good, get you a
Yeah.
95Q to go with your Epic 2.
Ooh, nice.
So then
Then you have them
you're
both.
covered.
And then you can sew together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because nobody wants to just have one machine when they come because now you can't sew.
No.
Now you want to sew together.
Well, yeah, because sometimes I just have one at home, and admittedly, that's when she wants to sew.
Yes. And
When
you're
I
like,
have
how
to
do you
do-
say no to
Yeah,
something
I
that they
know.
want
I'm
to
like,
do?
I gotta get this done for work, but
Sure, you can sew.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did
So.
that too. Perfect.
yeah. A ride will be here soon.
We're gonna need a ride.
Minor detail.
They're gonna want their couch back too.
Not today. It's raining.